Well, Cyril Grayson's been a godsend for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He caught the game-winning touchdown pass yesterday, and he's had a couple of strong weeks. Mike Evans was able to come back and contribute a couple of weeks after the hamstring injury. But You're right, it may be difficult for Rashad Perriman, who was with the Buccaneers and did well in 2019, back this year. You know, what happened to Tyler Johnson? What happened to Scotty Miller? Where are these guys that were key role players last year? That part of it is very, very surprising. And Jalen Darden was a guy that they drafted this year that they felt very good about. But it's these other guys, and Tom Brady has to trust you. He's not going to throw you the football. And he's got trust in guys like Grayson. And we're seeing some of it with Perriman. We definitely know it's there with Evans. We know it's there with Gronk and Cameron Brate and O.J. Howard. You don't really see O.J. Howard a whole lot anymore. I don't remember his numbers from yesterday, but Gronk is still there, which is good. He had over 100 yards. And Brady had over 400. And Brady had 3 more touchdowns. He's got back-to-back 40-touchdown seasons. He's only the second guy in NFL history to have 3 seasons of 40 or more touchdown passes. And he, along with Drew Brees, are the only ones to have consecutive 40-touchdown pass years. And Brady has done it at the ages of 43 and 44. Now, as to Brown, one more thing. You mentioned the Let's Go podcast. And I hope, I assume they've probably already taped the thing, but I hope that the Jim Gray, did we get a little more of the Pete Rose, Jim Gray, and a little less of the LeBron James, Jim Gray in this? I mean, Jim Gray has had an evolution, not for the good, all due respect, in the last 20, 30 years. But, and look, he's business partners with Tom Brady in this podcast. He's only going to push him so far. But this would be a time and this is what irritates me right now. You have these guys who have their safe spaces, whether it's Aaron Rodgers with Pat McAfee and A.J. Hawk, or Tom Brady with Jim Gray. Oh, yeah, I got plenty to say to the media. Yeah, as long as the person who's asking me the questions isn't going to ask me questions I'd rather not answer. Tonight's a night for Tom Brady to be asked questions he'd rather not answer, and we ain't going to get. I would wager many black-eyed peas and a little crack that we're not going to get. You know, and if somebody's just tuning in, they're wondering what the hell I'm talking about. Well, that's what you get for being late. But I would wager a lot of things of value that he's not going to get tough questions tonight.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Mike, and those questions probably are formatted and he knows what they are ahead of time and approves them. I mean, that's kind of the way it is when they have these off-campus radio shows and other things that they do, podcast. And so I do hope that he's at least asked some questions about has he had contact with AB since he walked out, and what will their relationship be going forward, and what happened before AB had his meltdown and left the field. So all those are relevant questions. They aren't hard questions for Tom Brady to answer. So I hope that he does answer some of those questions and fills in some of these blanks.
Hey, the point you made earlier, back before he signed with the Buccaneers, he was actually living with Tom Brady. Brady was making sure he stayed on the straight and narrow, right? Bring him back in at this very fragile time in his football life as he recovers from what happened yesterday. Wouldn't that be a time to have him around all the time and make sure he's okay? Again, it's one thing to do it when you have something personally to gain. It's another thing to do it when you have nothing to gain and you're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. And I'm trying to be sensitive to Antonio Brown and all this. Look, I'm not an Antonio Brown fan. I think that a lot of times what gets regarded as, you know, maybe he needs help is he's just a jerk. And how do you draw the line? And where is the distinction between a guy who just doesn't have a very agreeable personality and a guy who needs some sort of assistance? But I think that he has the same rights of every other NFL player, and they shouldn't manipulate him to suit their own ends by trying to paint him as somebody who had some sort of a break if they pushed his buttons to make it happen. And it wouldn't surprise me if the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth here was that somebody pushed his buttons deliberately yesterday to contribute to him doing what he ultimately did. So we've been checking the transactions here, and let me just do one more check to see if they've come through. None of the PFT writers are telling us that Antonio Brown was officially waived today. They could just suspend him without pay for conduct detrimental to the team. They could do that and keep him from landing with someone else. They made it clear yesterday he's not going to be part of the team. If and when they do waive him, and he does pass through waivers, and he could be claimed, this is the OBJ thing all over again. Somebody could claim his contract. If he goes unclaimed, then he could be signed as a free agent. And I know there's so many people who are like, oh, it's done, it's over. Come on. He's come back from far worse than what he did yesterday, especially as we learn more about it. And teams want to win, and talent rules the day. And I look at the Chiefs. Look no farther than the Chiefs. They've had Josh Gordon on the roster most of the year. He's played in 11 games. He's got 5 catches for 32 yards. Antonio Brown does that in his sleep. I think the Chiefs in a heartbeat would take Antonio Brown to be the guy that they've been looking for across from Tyreek Hill, just as they're getting ready to go into a playoff stretch where they realize, hey, the Bengals are no joke. The Titans are no joke. The Bills are no joke. The Buccaneers, if we get to the Super Bowl again, are no joke. Maybe we need what Antonio Brown can bring to the table, and maybe we can keep him under control. And if we can't, we'll just get rid of him. Plain and simple. I wouldn't be surprised at all, Charean, if the Chiefs are the first team who become officially linked to Antonio Brown.
Well, and it's a short-term commitment to Antonio Brown, too. I also thought, obviously, the Chiefs come to mind first just because they have a history of taking on players with troubled past. And you mentioned Josh Gordon, and he hasn't been that number 2 receiver that they've needed and wanted. And I also thought of the Saints, who haven't had Michael Thomas all year. I thought, well, if they're going to make a playoff run, they need another receiver, and he might be the guy. Again, a short-term commitment. If it doesn't work out, you get rid of him right away. So that's another team that came to mind for me right away. And I do have a question for you, Mike, concerning the contract and as it concerns to waivers. He was really close to getting at least two of the three, $333,333 bonuses for catches and yards. Now, did those reset, or will he, if a team picks up that contract, does he just pick up where he left off?
Picks up where he left off with the stats that are generated this year, but the only game where he would have a chance to get to those numbers would be Week 18.
This one.
It wouldn't matter
right.
in the postseason. And maybe the team that signs him could choose to rework things and say, we'll pay you what you would have earned based upon performance in the postseason. Adam Schefter tweeted just a little bit ago that the Buccaneers did not officially release Antonio Brown on today's wire. There are ongoing discussions with the NFL about how to move forward in this situation. That tells me they're thinking about finding a way to have their cake and eat it too. And that would be wrong. That would be wrong. If you're done with the guy, be done with him. Let him go somewhere else. Don't try to do this half measure where he's not on your team, but he's not able to play for anyone else either. And I know that as of last night, all they knew is he's not playing for us anymore. But if they do the Terrell Owens thing where they suspend him for 4 games for conduct detrimental to the team and essentially end his 2021 season, I think that would be unfair to him. Because if you're done with him, let him go somewhere else. But I can understand why the Buccaneers want to do it because, you know what? Maybe when it all hit the fan yesterday, the only thing Tom Brady had to say is, I better not see that guy playing for somebody else that we face between now and Super Bowl 56, Charean.
Well, and I mentioned the Saints, Mike. What if he shows up on the Saints, a team that has dominated Tom Brady in the past but couldn't beat the Buccaneers in the postseason? What if he showed up on the Saints and played against the Bucs in the postseason? Wouldn't that be something?
Well, first the Saints have to make it there, and that would be a reason for the Saints to claim him on waivers. See, and they were the team that brought him in. Remember a couple of years ago when he was in that weird sort of limbo? The NFL wouldn't tell teams whether or not he was going to be put on the commissioner exempt list after he was released by the Patriots. So he essentially served a 12 to 14 game unpaid suspension in 2019. The Saints brought him in at one point, but I also think that the way he conducted himself when he visited the Saints didn't rub folks there the right way. So maybe the Saints wouldn't do it. But there's also that angle. It's the Deion Sanders angle from way back in 2002 when the Washington football team waived him from the reserve retired list so that he could go join the Raiders. Well, he had to pass through waivers. Multiple teams made waivers claims, including the Chargers, who were coached by Marty Schottenheimer, the guy who was coaching Washington the year before when Deion Sanders said, I'm not playing for this guy. Schottenheimer made the waivers claim to keep him from going to the Raiders. So all it takes is even a team that's not in the hunt could claim him now, and he's done. That's it. That pulls the plug on his opportunity to go anywhere he wants to go and try to pursue a Super Bowl. So whether it was the Steelers who do it out of spite, the Raiders who would do it out of spite, there's a long list of teams that may make a spite waivers claim of Antonio Brown.
Yeah, there's no doubt, Mike, that there is some of that. And we ventured into would the Giants claim Odell Beckham when that happened? and obviously it didn't happen. So those things do happen in the NFL, and it could happen if they waive him this week. Will be interesting at what point they make this decision and make this move. They're going to make a move. We just don't know what that move is right now.
Yeah, and we'll find out. And really, I don't like it if they're going to squat on him for strategic reasons because they don't want him to play for someone else. But you know what? They may have the right to try to do that under the collective bargaining agreement, and they could slow everything down to the point where by the time it gets resolved, it's too late for anyone to bring him on board and have him be a contributor.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.